Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey everyone, it's Jory. Before we jump into today's episode, which is going to be all about gratitude in honor of my book coming out this week, I wanted to share with you something special that I've put together. So in the book, there are 13 different meditations that are outlined, and I have recorded all of these, and you can purchase them as a bundle to go along with your gratitude practice. But if you want to check them out, I've offered the gratitude meditation for free. So be sure to go check out the link in the show notes, which will take you to my website where you can download the gratitude meditation as outlined in my upcoming book that is available as of January 19th, A Year of Gratitude. And if you like the free one, then you can be able, for a small fee, be able to purchase the entire bundle. So as you go through the book, you can be able to have me guide you through these meditations. I know that being guided is such a beautiful way to deepen your practice in meditation. So it's something that I hope is of value to you, and share with any of those that you think could benefit from being guided in the different meditations to help you bring gratitude into your life. So I am very grateful to you for being part of my Journey Forward community. The link is in the show notes, and enjoy today's episode. So you guys, I'm so excited because my book, A Year of Gratitude, is officially on sale this week. And you guys, this is just such a huge accomplishment for me. I've always wanted to write a book. And even though I've written some mindfulness books for kids and for teachers, this one is different. And I'm really, really proud of it. And so I wanted to revisit the topic of gratitude in honor of the book coming out this week, because I just don't think we can get enough of this practice. To be honest with you, I really, really, really believe, I believe in all the tools that I teach, of course, but I really believe, and you've probably heard me say this before, but now more than ever, gratitude really feels like one of the main practices for us to be practicing. I mean, 2020 threw us a gazillion curveballs, and 2021 so far has been off to an interesting start. And the mind, the way that it's been designed, is going to want to be pulled into the negative. It's going to want to focus on all that's wrong. It's going to want to look for the bad. It's going to want to dwell there. It's going to want to stay there. And without awareness of that habitual pattern of our mind to focus on the negative, we can easily stay stuck. And so, of course, it takes the mindfulness to have the awareness to even acknowledge what's arising in this moment. And it's an interesting paradox of how can I accept what's arising and yet want to change it? And so changing our habits, changing our patterns doesn't mean we're not being mindful. If mindfulness is awareness and acceptance without judgment, what's arising, but awareness of how is it serving me to stay focused in on what I'm focusing in on. That, to me, mindfulness, and there's so many different ways to define mindfulness, but one of the ways is it's an intention of mind practice. So noticing with awareness, where is my mind's attention resting? And if it's not serving me, do I have the tools or the resources to be able to shift it? Because when I can continue to practice shifting my mind's attention and letting it reside somewhere that does serve me, well, that is how we get to rewire our brain towards new habits, new patterns. It's how we become overall healthier and happier people. And this is, I can't continue to reiterate it enough. This is why I love mindfulness so much. I mean, you've got this time-tested, ancient contemplative practice that has been around for thousands of years, that over the past, 40 years, Western science has continued to support. Here's what happens in your brain and your body when you practice these tools. And the fact that we can continue to evolve to being the people we want to be by actually learning the tools to create the habits that best serve us, to me, it's so promising, because we're not stuck. where we land. We're not stuck being who we are if those characteristics or habits cause us greater distress or increase our suffering or cause us continued unhappiness. And gratitude, like I often say, can be the lens through which you see the world. It's a choice. It's an option. It may not always be easy to see, but the more you look for it, the more you're going to find it. And if you guys want some great resources on this, I think my favorite go-to is Dr. Rick Hanson. His first amazing book that I read of his was Buddha's Brain, where he combines neuroscience, psychology, and Buddhism. And his subsequent books, Hardwiring Happiness and Just One Thing. And he came out with a more recent book, which right now the name of it is escaping me, but he continues to reiterate that even just the smallest of things that we can focus on, where we dwell in the good, is enough to be able to rewire those habits of our negativity bias having greater power over us than what serves us. So as we are still in the beginning of 2020, if you're listening to this somewhat live to the time that this episode was released in mid-January 2021, if you reflect on the year 2020, I invite you, and in fact, before I say that, today's episode is almost like a little mini therapy session, so to speak, because, and maybe not therapy session so much, but a guided workshop. How about that? That I really wanted to have this be a tool-driven episode for you guys to really connect with the different ways to bring gratitude into your life. And so if you have something that you want to take notes in, or a journal in which you keep, different practices that you're working on or reflections, hit pause, go grab it. Or if you happen to be out for a walk right now, just kind of pay attention, maybe pull out your phone, take notes on your phone, the things that are really resonating with you, so you can utilize the topics that I'm going to be talking about in a way to integrate into your life. And of course, go buy the book, because everything that I'm talking about today is inside the book. And the book is 365 different ways to practice gratitude. So if I can come up with 365 different ways to practice, then you guys can at least find some of the ways to integrate them into your life, because that was a big overcoming feat for me to get through. And yet, even when I was done, I could have kept going, because the more I thought about how to bring gratitude in, the more options I saw available. So if you're someone who right off the bat is like, I see the world in a negative lens, I don't think gratitude is for me, it feels cheesy, it doesn't feel authentic, I invite you to just notice those roadblocks, notice any resistance arising, and ask yourself if you are open to learning gratitude in some new and different ways. Because, traditionally, you might hear of gratitude practice sounding like, at the end of the day or the beginning when you wake up, writing down 3 to 5 things you're grateful for. And while that's great and that's helpful, it's not the only way to practice gratitude. And I did an episode a couple weeks back where I talked about it being more than just an attitude. So you can, revisit that episode as well. But today I really wanted to delve into just some really specific tools that were some of my favorites from the book. So I'm only going to be mentioning 12, because I thought maybe if you have some more, framework for how to lay out your year, to have some New Year's intentions to be set, maybe it would be really attainable for you to think about only a few, that maybe even if you just did one a month, to let yourself build on that. Now, I don't want to undermine or undersell myself. Go buy the book where you can get all 365, but I wanted to highlight my favorite 12. So that way you can really, see if they resonate with you. Choose one to focus on for a month and, go on to another one. So there's lots of different ways you can bring it into your life, but I really wanted to highlight my favorite ones. And it was hard to pick just 12. So they're not my top favorites, but they're the ones that really kind of spoke to me the most as I was re-looking through the book and preparation for this episode today. But I want to begin, kind of going back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. I want to begin by having you reflect on 2020. And I invite for you to write down, and again, hit pause if you'd like, or come back to it this later. Write down the things that went well for you this year, or I guess last year. Write down what it is that despite the hardships, despite the very real and intense suffering many of us experience, despite all of the curveballs and all the things that we never even saw coming, and there were a lot of them. I mean, we were continuously forced to have to pivot, to be resilient, to be adaptable, and ultimately to accept what we didn't like. And the fact that you're here now listening to this episode tells me that you've gotten through it. Even if you didn't like it, even if you didn't move through the past year so eloquently, you did it. So reflect on perhaps what were some of the silver linings of 2020? And what are some of the things that even when the world reopens up, right? A post-COVID world and whatever that looks like, what do you want to continue to harness to bring into this upcoming year that maybe you didn't recognize prior to the year 2020? I know for me, I am so grateful that 2020 forced me to slow down. Now, in some ways, 2020, I ramped up because I was busier than I've ever been professionally. But in my everyday personal life, the ability to slow down, I didn't recognize, or maybe I did, but just didn't know how to do anything about it, just how exhausted I was from running around and feeling like I was always rushing somewhere. And in absence of that rushing around, I feel a greater ease in my everyday life. And so I'm super grateful for the ability to also have a reset button on being very intentional of how I spend my time and what's most important to me in my life. So I think, 2020 gave me the biggest lessons in my own gratitude that I've ever had before. So that's kind of the entree in, but I'm going to go through 12 different things that perhaps you can practice. You can see what resonates. You can set intentions to do. And I'm going to start with, throughout the book, each month, there are approximately 12 different practices, 12 different reflections, 2 affirmations, and 2 inspirational quotes. And, on some of the days, they are very specific. If there was like a National Day of Laughter, then I would try to have something related to that or around a holiday. Some of the days were intentional for reasons that no one else may know of. And one of them is the entry that was on January 3rd, which was for my birthday. And this was an affirmation, and it's something that I tell myself all the time. And I'm going to read it to you directly so I don't misquote it. But it says, so I invite you to reflect on this and even repeat it after me in your own mind or out loud if it resonates with you as an affirmation. I am grateful for all the experiences in my life, both good and bad, because they have helped shape me into the person I am today. I am so grateful for all the experiences in my life, for they have helped me shape into the person I am today. How does that resonate with you? It's so easy to look at the twists and the turns to think that they're negatives in our life, and yet they've all contributed. And for that, I am grateful. I am grateful for the dark times. I'm grateful for the periods of confusion and unknown and, bewilderment of what am I going to do next? And yet I wouldn't be here without them. And so even as hard as they were in the moment, I'm actually really grateful that they happened. Okay, so going through the next one, that was number 1. And that one was on my birthday, so that felt really appropriate for me. Something else about a beautiful way to practice gratitude is to have a beginner's mind. And you probably heard me talk about this in the past, but a beginner's mind is that ability to see things as if for the first time. And one of the ways that I notice this most often in my day-to-day life is actually not from me as much as it is from my daughter. So we got our puppy. He's a mini golden doodle, and I swear he looks like a teddy bear. And he's about 1.5 years old now. And my younger daughter, almost every single day, even though we've had him for 1.5 years, she is in amazement of how cute he is. And almost every day she says, "Oh my God, he's so cute." And she says it as if it's the very first time she's ever seen him. And yet it never gets old. She is in constant awe and awareness an appreciation for having him in our life. And I love her ability to have this beginner's mind with him because it keeps her connected to the gratitude she feels for him in our lives. So in what ways could you practice beginner's mind? Maybe if you take a walk every day, like slow down and just be grateful for the view. I did that this morning. I even took a picture and posted it because it's a view I see every day when I go out for a walk. And yet I'm grateful for it. It's beautiful. It doesn't, get past me how much gratitude I have for where I live. All right. Number 3 is gratitude for your positive traits. So many of us have a loud inner critic. It can be, we speak to ourselves in our mind in a way that we wouldn't speak to other people. And yet we also haven't been socialized and raised to focus in on the parts of ourselves that we really love. There's maybe a fear of us being boastful or a fear of us being conceited or too self-aware. And yet for the ability to be able to be proud of your positive traits and be proud for who you are and be proud of them in a way that you can be unapologetic and harness those positive traits to get you to where you want to be in your life. So perhaps if you're writing this down, write down what are the positive traits you've got that you're really proud of that make you feel good about yourself. All right, number 4, I love having gratitude be something of fun way you can interact with. So there's a few different suggestions throughout the book in which way you can do this. One of them is a gratitude rock. So choosing a rock where you can take a Sharpie or you can even paint it and writing down a word that you're grateful for and putting it somewhere that you see every day. Or a gratitude project like creating a gratitude vision board, things that you always want to have a reminder of what you want to bring into your life that makes you feel really good and appreciative. Maybe it's having a jar where you write on a piece of paper something you're grateful for, and at the end of the week or the month or even the year, pulling out all those pieces of paper and reading it. Maybe it's having a gratitude wall where somewhere in your house, you just keep a stack of Post-its and anyone who feels gratitude in the moment can, post it up on the wall and you have it be a beautiful living work of art. So there's so many different ways, even through, a gratitude photo album of all your favorite memories that when you're feeling down, you can look at things to remind you of all the good in your life. So what are some fun ways you can have gratitude project? Okay. Number 5, I love practicing gratitude in a way that we can be stepping outside of ourselves and our own experiences, in which we can either compliment others and being grateful for something that someone does for us, or even just giving back to our own communities and volunteering. And there's a lot of research to back this up that when we can give back, we end up feeling better about ourselves. So it's really a win-win. And, when we're tuning into the gratitude for this, part of it is heightening your awareness for the gratitude the other person on the receiving end must be feeling for what it is that you've done or what it is that you're doing. And when we can consider this, it's a really helpful way to help us step out of our own bad mood if we're feeling stuck in something, if we're feeling overwhelmed, that, knowing that we can contribute to somebody else's good day can help make us feel better about ourselves. So I love this idea of giving back. And I may have given this example before, but I once was at a conference in San Francisco, and one of my friends, she ended up getting, I don't know if it was her hotel room that got broken into and things were stolen, but her way she dealt with it was she went out and bought some food and ended up delivering it to homeless people on the street. And it just made her feel so good. It helped shift out of her own focus of her worries. And I just love that. I think it's beautiful. All right. This is a fun one, a little bit challenging. And the ABCs of gratitude. So I originally, in my book, I wanted it to be an entire list, A to Z, for you to think of something that you were grateful for. And I think my publisher thought that might have been overwhelming. So, I think the suggestion in the book is maybe just doing your name and having like every letter of your name being something you're grateful for. But if you're feeling ambitious and think you can come up with 26 different things in the alphabet to start with, but it helps stretch your imagination towards your gratitude. So what are the ABCs of your gratitude? Starting with A, maybe it's appreciation, all the way to Z. What would those things be? Maybe they're particular places, maybe they're people, maybe they're things, maybe they're memories, maybe they're foods, maybe they're destinations. You've been on vacation. But hold this list and let it be a reminder. If you're ever feeling really stuck, there's always something to come back to be grateful for. All right, number 7 on the list of ways to practice gratitude is recognize challenges that you've overcome. And not only be grateful for the fact that you overcame the challenge, but be grateful for the skills and resources and or people that helped you overcome them. The more you can tune in to the strengths that you use, the resources at your disposal, the people in your life, as well as the lessons that you've learned from having overcome those challenges, it might help you in your next challenge and helping you remember that you can get through hard things. Because so often, even when we've just overcome something, the next roadblock, we're like, oh, here we go again. I feel stuck. I can't do this. So it's shifting out of the mindset of I can't do this to looking for ways that how can I get through this? Number 8 is kind of similar to a part of the affirmation that I mentioned that I have listed on my birthday, the first one that I read, but it's really being grateful for the people on your path. And it's not just the experiences or the opportunities that you've had in your life to get you where you are, but really acknowledging the people. And here's an interesting twist on this. It's easy to have gratitude for the people that you really appreciate and love and value. And there's also deep gratitude for the people that have been difficult in your life, because it is those people that have taught you who you don't want to be, that we learn so much from our challenges with the difficult people in our lives. They're reminders for us. And I remember seeing a quote that says, be grateful for all the difficult people in your life, for they remind you who you don't want to be. It's a choice to have gratitude for them so you can show up intentionally in your life. All right, number 9 is to reflect upon the times in which things could have been worse. Things that maybe weren't as bad as you thought they were, or that it could have had a much bigger negative outcome. And you're grateful that even if it wasn't perfect, that it wasn't terrible. And, this downward social comparison or this acknowledging that it wasn't as bad as it could have been can really help you reframe how you engage with challenge. Because, checking our expectations, checking our ways that we relate to what's happening in our life can impact our experience of what's going on. And even if a difficult situation arose, even like with COVID, right? Now, I don't want to undermine or negate people who've had really intense suffering, who've had family members who've died and have been very sick. And how did you get through that? What could you focus on that maybe it wasn't as bad as it could have been? And I don't want to disrespect anybody who's gone through a lot of challenge around this. And, even in what's gone on in our politics, it's been bad. It's been hard. And can I be grateful that it wasn't the absolute worst case scenario? That option is available to you if you choose to engage in it as a mindset. It may not always be easy. I'm not saying we have to always look for silver linings immediately, but this is a point of reflection in which we can help rewire our brain towards looking for the good versus dwelling on the bad. All right, number 10 that I want to share is gratitude for your uniqueness. Now, this might be something that is easier to do the older we get in our lives, because I think when we're younger, we want to fit in more. We want to be really, like other people. We want to be easily accepted. We want to be acknowledged. And oftentimes when we're younger, uniqueness stands out as a negative. And even something really simple, like growing up, I hated my name because it was different. I wanted my name to be Stacy. I wanted, something that was more common. And now I have such deep appreciation for having an uncommon name. It helps me to stand out. It helps me to be different. I've embraced the very thing that I did not like. One of the things, there's so many that I've struggled with. But when we can turn to gratitude for our uniqueness rather than judge it as a negative, how might that shift how you show up in your life? So I invite you to choose gratitude for the ways in which you are unique, even how you relate to the parts of maybe even your body you don't like, right? The things that we judge ourselves for or compare ourselves to others. What could change if you allowed it to be a point of gratitude rather than judgment? Number 11, I love this because this is a mindset shift, is looking at the things in your life that you do and noticing how you relate to it in your own mind or how you label it. And it's the statement of, I get to versus I have to. Now, this is a huge mindset shift, especially I think of like relating to chores. Oh, God, I have to empty the dishwasher. Oh, I have to put away my laundry. Versus I get to empty the dishwasher. I get to put away my laundry. Seeing it as something you are grateful for, whether it's because you have food in your house that you now have dirty dishes, whether it's you have a washing machine to help clean your clothes for you. And you may have heard me share this story in the past, but years ago, 2017, when it was one of the first really big wildfires up in Santa Rosa, my kids' summer camp that we'd gone to as a family, my daughter had gone to for years, burned down. And it was absolutely devastating for obviously the greater community, but my family, it was really upsetting for us. And by the end of that week, I just was carrying the stress and overwhelm and sadness in my body, and it was resulting in some really bad lower back pain. And that Sunday night, I remember the house was a mess and I had all this laundry to do and the dishes, and my kids were already upstairs and they weren't super helpful that night. And I was in physical pain and I was lamenting over all these things that I had to do. But I all of a sudden was aware of the people who just lost their homes, whose houses had just burned down, the people who would not have the ability on this Sunday night to get ready for their week by getting their laundry and dishes done. And I shifted my mentality from I have to do these things. Wow, I'm so grateful I get to do these things. And it changed everything. So what might change in your life if you shifted the language in which you named it from I have to I get to? How might you have more gratitude for the things that maybe you didn't like? And the last one I'm going to say for now is gratitude for your rituals and traditions. And to me, tradition is something that's really, really important to me. And I might not have recognized this much earlier in my life, but I think perhaps post-divorce, I'm really tuned into the power of tradition and ritual. It gives me a sense of grounding. It gives me a sense of familiarity. It gives me a sense of connection. And in an unpredictable world, tradition and ritual offers me a sense of predictability, which gives me a sense of feeling safe and in control of the parts I can be in control of my life, not to mention the ability to create beautiful memories. And so for me, I'm so grateful for the traditions and rituals that I can do, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly, that give me a sense of the cycle of the seasons and the cycle of my life, but in how I can share that with others and have this shared meaning, this shared set of values, this shared set of experiences to connect me. And it's a beautiful thing. So by no means is this a complete list, because again, I wrote 365 different ways to practice gratitude. But it's really easy to think, oh, I've just got to write down 3 to 5 things each day I'm grateful for, or, taking it a step further, writing down one thing you're grateful for and naming 5 reasons why. But gratitude really can come in all different shapes and forms. So if you took notes on this, if you want to reflect on this, if you want to journal about this, these are the things that are in this book to really help you. And I hope that you found this episode helpful. I would love to hear any feedback. If you want to share in a rating or a review, which of these resonated? and create greater conversation about how to be more grateful. Because, like I said, 2020 taught us that life is unpredictable. We're going to continue to get curveballs, and it's hard. And as we move forward in 2021, it's already been off to an interesting start of some challenges that we may have not seen coming. And so choosing the ways in which you can have gratitude be at the forefront of your mind can help you manage through new things, or overwhelm, or stress, or depression, or anxiety, or fear, giving you some sense of grounding and security into yourself. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today's episode. Check out the link in the show notes. You can go ahead on Amazon and purchase your book because it's coming available on January 19th. Of course, there's a Kindle version as well. And I thank you all so much for being part of the Journey Forward community and for supporting this book. And what a great gift that we can share with each other in the beginning of this new year. Take care and be well. And I'll look forward to connecting with you in next week's episode.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat. Visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.